Hey, I'm Chris Ralph, the professional prospector, and today we're going to talk about 10 secrets to prospecting like a pro. Now, do you want to go out, when you go out, find more gold? That's what we're going to talk about. And this is stuff that applies to all different kinds of prospecting, whether it be with a metal detector, with a gold pan, with a sluice box, with a dry washer, hard rock, you name it, it all applies. This is all general kind of stuff, but it's secrets that people don't often think about, that are maybe it's things that people avoid because they don't like it. Whether it works or not, they don't like it. But it's the secrets of the guys that are really good at finding gold. It's stuff that I do. Now, all of us from time to time get stuck in kind of a rut. We go back to the same places trying to get gold, and you may have been successful there in the past, but you got the best stuff and now you're just getting a few crumbs that are left over. This is the kind of thing that'll take you to that next level, get you out of that rut, get you back on the gold. That's my goal in this. So the first thing I talk about, I'm going to go over 10 one at a time. First is do your research because it pays off. Now, what I mean by research is reading old reports and old newspaper clippings and researching the internet and finding out about gold districts in your area. Most guys look at that stuff and think, that's like homework from high school or something. And it's not very fun. This is one of the ones where, yeah, a lot of guys know this. A lot of guys think, yeah, that's good. I don't want to do that. But if you want to be successful, put in the time, because it does pay off. You will find places that guys have never found. I've found places that no one has ever dug a nugget before. And this is how I do it. I've found places with extensive workings that no metal detectorist has ever gone over before. That's how I do it. Research. So think about research and put in the time, because it really does. If you do it right, it pays off. The next, number 2, is to read and learn some geology. Your success depends on what you know. Now look, you don't have to be some PhD geology expert that, knows everything about geology. Yeah, no, that's not necessary. But on the other hand, if you're the kind of guy that, you look at a rock and say, well, that's a black rock. I don't know what it is, but it's a black colored rock. Or this is a brown colored rock, or a green colored rock. I don't know what they are, but that's what they are to me. Well, okay. You need to know more than pretty much zero, no more than your colors, like a 5-year-old. But, just learn some basic geology about, igneous and, those are rocks that have melted, okay? And they come in 2 forms, igneous extrusive and igneous intrusive. Intrusive are rocks like granite that come near to the surface enough to cool slowly and eventually by erosion are exposed. And extrusive is like, a volcano with lava flowing out of it. It extrudes onto the surface. So, and there's sedimentary and metamorphic and different kinds of... So some basic knowledge of minerals and basic knowledge of geology, that's the kind of stuff that you need to have. If you can look and tell the difference between, this is a metamorphic rock, and this is a sedimentary rock, and this is a volcanic rock, you're doing good. That's probably good enough. And so it's worth it to take some time and study. Again, this is kind of like studying from high school, learning a new subject. But in gold prospecting, your success depends on what you know. And the less you know, the less likely you are to be successful. So, learn something. Learn the basics. I've done some articles on this for the magazine, and I've done some various videos on this, and I'll probably do more videos in the future on basic geology and that kind of stuff. But it's worth learning and worth the time that it takes to learn it. So next I want to talk about thinking outside the box. Trying different and new things. You know, I mentioned getting into a rut of going to the same place. Well, you can get into the rut of doing the same thing over and over and over again. And a lot of times taking a fresh look and looking at things in different ways can be super productive. Sometimes that means changing technology a little bit. A few years back, I had a place that I'd gone to, and I hadn't really found much gold there, but it was easy to get to, and I was taking my dad, so I thought, nah, this will work out. And but I took a different detector. I thought, oh, I'll try something different. And I got out there, and it wasn't really 5 minutes, and I'd found a nugget. I was surprised. And then in another 5 or 10 minutes, I found another. I think I went home with like 20 nuggets that day, and they were small, but they weren't tiny. I got a good amount of gold that day in a place that I'd been to a number of times, and like I say, not really found that much. And so I just thought outside the box, tried something different. Another story I have is that I went out with a guy, and we went to an area where they had actively done some hydraulic mining in the past, and we'd gotten some good gold there. And he decided to try the tailings pile, meaning all the stuff that they'd washed through the sluice. And I thought, whatever. And lo and behold, it turns out that there were a number of gold-bearing chunks of quartz with decent amounts of gold. And he went through that tailings pile and picked up some nice material, literally the equivalent of several ounces of gold in the quartz in the tailings pile. He was thinking outside the box. I was not. I wasn't thinking about that as a good spot. So he got the gold and I didn't. You know, that's what thinking outside the box does. Sometimes, you know, I've been to a place where I'd gotten nugget after nugget and after nugget, and I thought, I should try dry washing this. You know, I've pretty much gotten all the gold I can with my metal detector, and I dry washed it and got a whole bunch more gold, little gold that was too small to see with my metal detector. So, you know, sometimes it's a different technology, sometimes it's a different place, but don't let yourself get in a rut where you're always doing the same thing with the same equipment, going to the same couple of places. You know, think outside the box. Try something new. Try something different, because that's the way you're going to be more successful in finding gold. Now, going with that is number 4. Be willing to try new places, but have the persistence to stick with it. I will tell you that almost all guys that are really successful try a number of different places. They keep moving around and trying different things. But you know, going out to new places can be discouraging, because the truth is, when you try new places, more often than not, it's probably going to be not successful. You may get out there and maybe in a few minutes realize, yeah, this wasn't what I thought it was going to be, you know, and you may hunt around for a day and not find much of anything. But you have to have persistence. You have to stick with it. I went to a place, is a story, I went to a place that looked pretty good. I thought it looked really good, but I didn't find much of anything. And I went there a second time and didn't find much of anything. And finally, I think the third time I went there, I found a few nuggets that were kind of close together, and it got me thinking, and I found more gold there as time went on, and eventually, you know, kind of figured the place out, and I was very successful. I literally have taken, I don't know, half a pound of gold out of that place because I stuck with it. I was persistent. And that's the thing about exploring new places. You know, sometimes they're really not at all the place that you thought it was, but sometimes they look good and you're just not finding a lot of gold. You may need to spend some more time figuring that place out, figuring out, you know, where the gold's going to be in those particular areas. You know, if it's an old working or along a stream or something like that. Persistence is a huge key to being a successful prospector. You gotta stick with it. And so that's number 3 and number 4 of my 10 secrets. Let's go on to number 5 and 6. My fifth point is to think about both placer and hard rock areas, because a lot of people ignore hard rock districts. So most new prospectors start out principally with placer areas, because then that makes sense, because the erosion and other forces have already freed the gold from its matrix, put it in streams or other places, and it's a lot easier to recover, a lot easier to get that stuff. So it makes sense that most prospectors would start out with placers, but not all of them graduate on to looking at hard rock districts. And I've had some great success metal detecting and kicking around old hard rock areas. I went out a while back, this has been a couple of years, but I went out and detected one old hard rock mine dump, got a number of specimens, crushed them up, and I got nearly half an ounce of gold. So, hey, that was worth not ignoring. And so think about both hard rock and placer, and then kind of the cross between those is finding the source of the placer. Now, not all placer districts work well for trying to trace the source of where the placer gold originally come from. Sometimes it's literally like there's hundreds of little sources that all contribute together and in combination make a good placer. Other times, though, it's only one or two or a couple of decent sized, fairly large sources that contribute to a placer, especially if you're talking about upstream in areas where you're getting close to the headwaters. It's those places that you want to try and trace out the source of the gold. That's really the areas where tracing is more likely to work, where you only have one or two different sources and you can follow them up little ravines and sources. I've actually done some videos on tracing the source of placer gold, so you might want to take a look at those. I'll try and put a link to it in the comments and maybe up here on the board. Number 6 is to take a good look at the place before you go there. You think, well, how can I look at it before I go there? Well, the internet has changed a lot of things. When I first got started in prospecting, man, it was almost impossible to get aerial photos. You had to go to very special libraries, and then the quality of the aerial photos was crud. It was no good. You couldn't hardly tell anything. But today, man, the photos that you can view on Google Earth, if you have a good screen, man, you can see individual branches of trees. You can see little paths that deer and that sort of animals use, and you can probably tell what generally kind of car. If you see a car parked, oh, yeah, that's a van, or no, that's a little car like a Corolla or something, or it's a pickup. You get some high level of detail. One of the important things that goes with that is you can see the difference between just some natural rock outcrop and a pile of hand-stacked boulders that the old miners, when they were working, they tossed their boulders to the side and built these stacks. You can tell that, hey, the miners did a lot of work there. And you can tell the difference between that and just a regular outcrop. So it's really worth it. Oh, another thing that looking at the aerial photos on Google Earth can do for you, you can see roads sometimes that aren't marked on maps. You may have your topo map or some other map, and it may show, oh yeah, there's a road here, there's a road there, and you want to get to some place over here, and there's almost no road that goes there. But you may see on Google Earth, oh yeah, there's a road that goes right to it. And sometimes you can even tell what shape the roads are in, whether, yeah, this road looks like it's going to be a real rough four-wheel drive, or this is an easy road, it's wide and well-traveled. So make use of those Google Earth type photos, because you can see so much on them and incorporate them into your plan. Another thing that goes with it is, even if you've been to an area, even if you've been out prospecting in a certain area that you like, you should go look at it on Google Earth, because there are sometimes features and things that you can see from high in the sky looking down that you can't see at eye level looking out. There may be piles and piles of of hand stacked boulders where the old timers worked that you've never seen because there's a bunch of bushes over there and you can't see through the bushes. So, you know, even with areas that you've been to and thoroughly explored, they're still worth, if you haven't done so already, still worth getting online and checking out through Google Earth to see what the area looks like, and then incorporate what you can see into your plans of how you're going to prospect that area. Okay, number 7 is when you go into the field, have a plan of action. You know, it's not enough just to drive yourself out someplace and then say, oh, looks interesting. You know, I find that I'm a lot more efficient if I have in mind, well, I want to do this, I want to see this, I want to go, and you know what helps me to make those plans is that point number 6, which was to take a look on Google Earth at the spot you're going to before you go there. So once you've looked at the spot, like I say, even if you've already been there before, you know, look at what you see on the Google Earth, zoom in, take a close look, and then make some notes and kind of turn that into a plan of action. Maybe there's a couple little hard rock mines. Oh, I want to go up there on the hill to see those. Or maybe there's a bend in the stream that you think might have some good gold, and maybe there's some indication of stacked boulders that you saw on Google Earth, and you say, oh, I want to be sure to go there. And so you can develop a plan of action. Now, you know, if you get out in the field and you see something that looks really good, it's not like your plan of action is carved in stone. It can never be changed. You can always modify. But if you just go out there with no real good idea what you want to do when you get there, you know, you probably won't be as efficient. You know, the old saying that if to fail to plan is to plan to fail. And a plan of action is useful to have. It really is. Another thing that kind of goes with that is use of maps and GPS, so you know where you are and take notes on what you see. So yes, the Google Earth is a great thing, super handy. It's found a lot of gold for me. But, you know, there's always things you see when you get onto the ground. You know, there's some things that you can see way better from up high. Other things you can really only see from on the ground. So take notes as to what you see. Use maps and use GPS. You can, one of the things, you can go on Google Earth. You can, let's say there's an inside bend of a stream and some hand stacked boulders there. Okay, I want to go to this spot. Well, you can get a GPS coordinate off of Google Earth and put that into your plan of action. I want to go there. And then when you go out into the field, you have your GPS and you can know for sure, yep, this is that inside bend that I saw on Google Earth. I'm in the right place. I should take some samples and see what I can find. So, you know, it all works together to make you more efficient as a prospector. And being more efficient as a prospector is part of the secrets of prospecting like a pro. So, you know, having GPS and maps, you know, you don't want to be the start of the next big lost mine story. If you find something good, you want to be able to clean it out, get the gold, and have it for yourself, right? And if you've got good maps and good GPS and good notes, then you're going to be a lot better off and a lot further along the line with being successful as a prospector. I know that it's worked really well for me, and so I recommend it to you guys. Now let's take a look at our final 2 points. Okay, so number 9, know the land and claim status before you go. Now, you know, in the old days, the BLM had a kind of a lame thing that they had. They've come out with a much better system called the MRLS. If you look on the internet for BLM MRLS data system, you can find the description for claims and land status. Now, I've done a couple of videos, and I will put links to that, and maybe up in the corner put a link to that. But take a look at those videos on making a claim so you can understand, if you don't understand already, the issues with how mining claims are formed in the United States. Or do some research if you're outside the United States and you're some other place, know how the system works in your country. But know the claim and land status before you go out in the field. It's important. When you get there, you want to know that you're not going to be causing a problem. And this is true even if you're you're on some club claims. Let's say you're part of a prospecting club and you're on some club claims. Well, it's good to know what the status is around there. Is it private property? Are there other mining claims? Is it just open land that's unclaimed? Knowing that before you go is important so that you don't step on people's toes and you don't get yourself in trouble and don't cause other messes or scenes or anything. And know where even if you're going for a club claim or a friend's claim or something like that, you know where the boundaries of the guy's claim are, so that when you go out there, it's like, okay, well, I can go to here, but I can't go any farther, or something like that. And that way you'll be safe. You'll know what you're doing, and the pros will go out and find that stuff out before they go. And like I say, when I go out, I want to know before I go what the status is, so that I don't cause any problems. And hey, if you check the status and you get out in the field and you find something good, you may want to put your own claim on it. And like I say, I have videos, a couple of them, part 1 and 2, about staking your own mining claims. So take a look at those videos if you have any interest in that. But it's important to know that stuff before you get out in the field. And then finally, when you get home, number 10, think about what you saw and what worked or did not work. Make notes. And when you get out in the field and you're going to especially a new place, but even if you're trying something new at a place that you've gone to a dozen times already, you're trying something new, make notes about what worked and what didn't. If you had an idea, maybe you looked on Google Earth and you had an idea of a place you wanted to go and you used your GPS and you got out there and you tried it, maybe you didn't find much of anything. You want to make that note, but maybe you were successful, and so you want to note what worked and think about what you did. And you may, when you're thinking about it later, you may think, I should have tried this and this, or I should have looked around the corner at that other spot that's nearby. And, you may have other ideas of things that, if you think about it after the fact, oh, I should try this. I do that all the time. I go out to a place. Even if I'm successful, I think, oh, if that worked, well, maybe I should try this over here. The same thing, and maybe I'll be successful there too. So it really makes a big difference to think about what you did, make notes, and then emphasize what worked and what didn't, and help you gain experience. Because you gain experience from all of your prospecting, whether it's successful or not successful. You learn what works, you learn what doesn't work, you learn how to be successful at prospecting. And the more you think about it and maybe make some notes, the better off you're going to be with turning that experience into knowledge for skills, internalizing your success and making you a better prospector. Now, I hope you thought these things are useful, these 10 secrets that I've gone over, because they're standard good practice for being successful as a prospector. And you'll want to put those into your toolbox and use them. And if you want to increase your skills as a prospector, if you want to continue to grow, well, I wrote a whole book about prospecting and how you can be successful and increase your skills as a prospector and go out and find more gold when you get out in the field. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my book right now. So let me tell you a little bit more about my book. It's called Fistful of Gold, and I wrote it because I want you to be able to go out and find for yourself fistful of gold. And you can see that it's an encyclopedia with all kinds of information, pictures, and that sort of thing. It's not in color, but color would have cost me a lot more to have printed, and so the book would have cost a lot more. It's for sale on Amazon, and you can pick it up. I'll put a link in the description below. I also serve as the editor for a prospecting magazine. It's ICMJ's Prospecting and Mining Journal. And honestly, you should check that out. We got stories and information, legal stuff, everything you know to increase your skills as a prospector. I write articles in this every month, and a lot of other very experienced prospectors contribute to the magazine as well. So check the magazine out. Also, I have a website, and the website is at NevadaOutbackGems.com. I'll put a link for it in the description below, but there's gobs of information there that you will find useful in your prospecting efforts. Finally, I want to say that I really appreciate your comments and thoughts, and even positive criticism. Don't come on there and just toss out insults, because I'll just delete your comments. But if you've got helpful things to say and questions to ask, do write and put those in the comments, because I answer my comments to people, and you'll hear from me in responding to you. So if you've enjoyed this video and you like what you see and you're interested in finding out more, well then sign up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so they'll let you know when I post new videos. And like it and share it if again you see stuff that you really are excited about. And I'll be coming out with lots more new videos, and so we'll see you again real soon.